Ever wondered if the lavish balls and romantic rendezvous of Bridgerton hold true to the Regency era's real customs? Or are we swooning over a beautifully crafted fantasy? Did strong independent women exist? And which real-life queen was publicly dragged through the mud, divorced, and left alone to die? Let's peel back the layers of this sumptuous series to uncover the historical truths of 19th century England. The Regency era, spanning from 1811 to 1820, was not merely a chapter of refined elegance, but also a time of profound upheaval. This pivotal decade began under the shadow of King George III's tragic descent into madness, leading to his son, the Prince of Wales, assuming the role of Prince Regent. This transition marked more than a mere shift in royal authority. It heralded a series of sweeping changes that reverberated through every layer of British society. As the Prince Regent took the reins of power, Britain found itself grappling with the tail end of the Napoleonic Wars, which strained the nation's resources and reshaped its international standing. Domestically, the era was characterized by sharp contrasts between opulence and poverty, the splendor of the upper classes juxtaposed with the dire conditions faced by the lower echelons. Culturally, the Regency period was a golden age of literature, fashion, and architecture. It was during this time that the iconic works of Jane Austen were published, capturing the nuances of social maneuvering and the pursuit of advantageous marriages amidst the genteel British society. Architecturally, the period left a lasting legacy with its distinctive Regency style, epitomized by the Royal Pavilion in Brighton and terraced houses of London's Belgravia. The social scene of the time was dominated by the ton, a high society of wealthy families often entangled in a relentless pursuit of status through display and marriage, much like the world so vividly depicted in Bridgerton. In Regency England, marriage was more than a romantic endeavor. It functioned much like a business merger today, strategically formed to enhance social status and secure financial stability, especially amid the economic turbulence following the Napoleonic Wars. Just as modern corporations might merge to maximize profit and influence, families during the Regency era used marriages to consolidate wealth, expand social networks, and climb the social ladder. For many women, whose opportunities to independently control wealth were severely limited, marriage was akin to a career move, a way to secure financial security and societal position. This is not entirely unlike how in some business or political circles today, partnerships and alliances are strategically formed to enhance one's standing or influence. For men, marrying well was akin to securing a significant financial investment or political alliance that could support their ambitions. The social negotiations and arrangements around marriage were carried out with the precision and strategic planning of modern-day corporate negotiations or political alliances, where terms and benefits are carefully weighed. In this light, the marriage market of Regency England was less about finding personal compatibility and more about managing assets and liabilities, similar to how business decisions are made today based on financial sheets and market predictions. While this still happens today, we'd call these people gold diggers and look down upon them, whereas in Regency England, this was to be expected. But there were still some strong, independent women. In Bridgerton, characters like Genevieve Delacroix illustrate the entrepreneurial spirit of some women during the Regency era, managing businesses and navigating the social structure independently. However, the reality for most women of that period was far more complex. While it's true that women could and did run businesses, often out of necessity or opportunity, their social status and security were still predominantly assessed based on their marital connections. Women entrepreneurs in Regency England operated within a societal framework that heavily favored male ownership and authority. Businesses run by women were often not taken as seriously as those run by men, and women faced significant legal and cultural barriers. For instance, married women couldn't legally own property or sign contracts in their own right. These rights were absorbed by their husbands upon marriage under the legal doctrine of coverture. Despite these restrictions, some women managed to carve out spaces for themselves in the business world. They ran shops, published books, managed estates, and even patented inventions. For example, Mary Anning was a pioneering paleontologist and fossil collector. Her findings contributed significantly to changes in scientific thinking about prehistoric life and the history of the Earth. Anning managed her own fossil shop in Lyme Regis, England, where she sold fossils to tourists and scientists, sustaining her family financially after the death of her father. Elizabeth Fry was known for her work as a prison reformer, but she also helped manage her family's business affairs. After her marriage to Joseph Fry, a banker, she became involved in the management of his bank's affairs, particularly during times of his illness, showcasing her capability in business management in a period when this was uncommon for women. Jane Marcet, an author of popular introductory science books, wrote Conversations on Chemistry, which significantly influenced the teaching of chemistry in the 19th century. Despite the limitations of her time, she published extensively, and her works were used widely in schools and by individuals studying independently. And even Madame Tussaud, who established her wax museum in London. Tussaud created a thriving business out of her wax sculptures, depicting both famous and infamous figures of the day, which became the famous Madame Tussaud's wax museums known around the world today. Yet no matter the level of their professional success, societal acclaim and financial security through marriage were often deemed more respectable and advantageous. This discrepancy underscores a persistent undervaluation of women's economic contributions outside of marriage. In today's terms, think of how women in high-powered careers might still face societal scrutiny about their marital status or decisions about family life, a reflection of ongoing gender dynamics where professional accomplishments can be overshadowed by personal life choices. The character of Geneviève Delacroix, while symbolizing progress and independence, also highlights the era's nuanced realities. Genevieve's independence in the business realm is a beacon of modernity, suggesting a crack in the rigid social structure that dictated much of public and private life at the time. Yet her experiences and the reactions she elicits from others in the series also highlight how deeply entrenched traditional values remained. Women like her were anomalies, often viewed with a mix of admiration and suspicion, and their successes could be as much sources of inspiration as they were of scandal. Just as Lady Whistledown captures the attention of London's elite with her revealing newsletters in Bridgerton, the actual Regency era was equally captivated by scandal sheets, the predecessors to modern gossip columns. These early newspapers were the social media of their day, wielding the power to shape reputations and stir public discourse with every published word. People of the time would eagerly await these publications, which often mixed truth with speculation to sensationalize the lives of the upper class. The scandal sheets were particularly influential because they provided a rare peek into the private lives of the nobility and gentry, often highlighting affairs, secret debts, and other personal details that the subjects would prefer to keep private. This form of media played a crucial role in the social dynamics of the era, acting as both news source and entertainment, filling salons and drawing rooms with whispers and rumors. These papers thrived on the appetite for gossip that pervaded all levels of society, from the highest ranks of the aristocracy to the middle classes, who were both shocked and intrigued by the exploits of the upper tiers. The influence of these sheets was so significant that they could make or break social standings, and people often went to great lengths to either appear in them favorably or avoid their scrutiny altogether. One notable saga was the turbulent marriage of King George IV and Queen Caroline. As George sought a public divorce amidst accusations of mutual infidelities, the nation was gripped by the sensational details revealed in their trial. The scandalous trial of King George IV seeking a divorce from Queen Caroline in 1820 is a prime example of how aristocratic marriages were subjected to the glaring public eye, especially when they unraveled. The public trial, laden with accusations of infidelity and inappropriate behavior, drew widespread media attention, making it one of the most sensational royal scandals of the era. The accusations against Queen Caroline were particularly explicit and salacious. Allegations of her having inappropriate relationships with multiple men, including a foreign servant, were central to the case. George IV's legal team presented detailed accounts of these alleged indiscretions, intending to depict Caroline as unfit for her royal duties and unworthy of her position. The trial documents detailed instances of alleged public impropriety and private misconduct, painting a vivid picture of a queen who blatantly disregarded the stringent norms of royal decorum. The media fervor around these proceedings was intense. Newspapers across Britain and beyond reported every detail of the trial, from the accusations and testimonies to the public's reactions. The scandal sheets of the day thrived on such stories, and the trial of Queen Caroline provided endless fodder for their sensational headlines. The press coverage not only informed the public, but also swayed public opinion, with many people sympathizing with Caroline, whom they saw as a victim of the king's attempt to rid himself of a wife he no longer wanted. Queen Caroline's life ended in a manner as turbulent as it had been lived. After the highly publicized and scandalous trial in which King George sought to divorce her, Caroline's situation became increasingly isolating. Despite her acquittal in the trial, her reputation was significantly tarnished, and she was largely shunned by the upper echelons of society. Caroline attempted to assert her rights as queen by attending George's coronation in 1821, but she was barred from entering Westminster Abbey. Humiliated and in declining health, Caroline fell ill shortly after the coronation debacle and died just 3 weeks later, on August 7, 1821. Her death was somewhat sudden and attributed to gastrointestinal complications. The rumors of poisoning circulated due to the contentious nature of her relationship with the king. Ultimately, Queen Caroline died alone, estranged from her husband, and largely abandoned by the court. Her funeral procession was marked by public disturbances as her supporters clashed with the authorities, reflecting the divisive nature of her presence within the British monarchy. Her life and trials had a lasting impact on the perception of the monarchy and contributed to rising sentiments for reform within the UK. Ironically, despite the passage of centuries, there are striking parallels between Regency England and the modern world, particularly in how social status, economic pressures, and personal relationships are navigated and perceived. Just as in Regency England, where marriages were often strategic alliances to elevate social standing and secure financial benefits, similar dynamics can still be observed today. In contemporary society, while not as overt, strategic relationships, whether in business or personal life, can also facilitate social climbing or consolidation of power and influence. High society weddings, often covered extensively by media, can have implications for social positioning, much like the aristocratic alliances of the past. So what do you think about Regency England? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through time, subscribe for more deep dives into the culture and media that shape us. If you liked this video, please let us know by clicking like, commenting, or subscribing. It's the best way for us to know how to refine the channel going forward.